Nice little easy stuffing recipe. We're not actually going to stuff the lamb with it, but this is a sort of play on a recipe for stuffing. It can serve as an accompaniment aside. So we've got some nicely diced red onions, some breadcrumbs, some raisins, and then I'm just going to quickly chop up some sage here. Sage and lamb go together very, very well. Sage and onion very, very well together. Really lends itself to lamb. Very, very well indeed. Doesn't need to be finely chopped up, just a rough chop like so. So what we do, pour some oil into a pan, sloosh that round, and get our ingredients together. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to actually sweat off our onion. So we'll add our onion first. We don't want the onion to colour. We want to have that nice sort of translucent, transparent colouring to it. So sweat without colouring. Once the oil starts to warm up, add our onion in there. Just work that round, making sure they don't stick. Doesn't take too long, a minute or two just to get nice and soft. Then we get our raisins, straight out of the packet, straight in there. Mix them around. Now if you wanted to, you could soak the raisins in a little bit of a sweet dessert sticky wine or a Muscatello balsamic vinegar, which would just give a nice little sweet and sour taste to this. And just like with all stuffings, we can either roll this up in a roll and bake it in the oven, or we can put it in little muffin tins or loaf tins and bake it in the oven. But with this one here, it's very simple, very quick, and I just like to serve it as it is onto the plate, straight from the pan. So once the raisins have started to take on a bit of the oil and absorb the oil, and they've plumped up a little bit, that's when we add our breadcrumbs. Stir them in. And once the breadcrumbs are in, that's when we're going to add our sage. Now, when cooking with fresh herbs and dry herbs, there is a difference. And the rule of thumb to remember is that your fresh herbs go in at the last possible moment. That way they keep their colour. They don't go black. But fresh herbs really, really need to go in at the last possible moment. If it's a little bit on the dry side, just add a little bit more oil to it. Especially if you're going to roll it into a roll, or put it into a loaf tin or a muffin tin to bake in the oven. Probably needs to be just a little bit wet, and all that moisture will evaporate out during the cooking process. Just a little touch of seasoning. Of course, you can use any of your favourite flavours you want to do this. Dried apricots work just as well. Dice up some dried apricots. A little bit of melt a little bit of apricot jam or apricot marmalade in there with it. Works just as well. That's literally our stuffing mix ready. It's a nice little side accompaniment to our roast lamb leg.